It kind of all started, we were driving back from our Southern Marxism school, and literally in the car, we heard about this vigil that was going to be held that Sunday for Heather Heyer, the woman who was killed in Charlottesville. And it was supposed to be put on by a couple different groups, but that were all kind of affiliated with the Democrats. So a bunch of Democrats in Durham were supposed to be holding this vigil, and originally I believe IWW was invited to speak, and they reached out to the party and asked us if we wanted to speak, and IWW got on the phone with some of the organizers, and IWW kind of laid out that they wanted to say some words and then kind of have a march after. And the organizers of the rally were like, no to the march, and since you asked, basically don't show up. And at the rally, one of the objections for the vigil in the rally was the fact that they were going to sing "This Land," and it's been pointed out to us that "This Land" was like a song that was used during the civil rights movement and during the anti-war movement, and for people like my age, we kind of only remember it as like pro-USA propaganda, as propped up with the national anthem and regard for the flag and things like that. And even the language of the song has kind of aged poorly, especially considering that white nationalists in Charlottesville were chanting blood and soil, and now these Democrats want to say this is my land. And we objected to that, and that Sunday we showed up at the rally, and Q, one of the comrades in the Durham branch, asked for some room to speak at the rally, and she was shut down by some of the organizers there. And the consensus from those that were leading the rally was basically, you don't get to speak, go do your own rally. So we kind of broke off for them and led a march, and that was Sunday. The next day, there was supposed to be kind of like a counter, similarly like organized around this whole Charlottesville issue, and kind of a rally, but centering our politics. And so there was that, and we had members of different groups come to speak. So some Antifa people were there. Some street medics spoke, gave some really powerful testimony about what they saw. There was also members of BYP 100 in attendance, and some of them spoke. And just all of the testimony was really powerful. And I spoke really briefly. Yeah, everyone's testimony was very powerful, and a couple things I noticed when speaking to the crowd, when a couple other people spoke to the crowd, I was basically telling the crowd that I watched the video of Q being shut down at this rally and refused space to speak, and I was basically saying that that these liberal Democrats wanted to sing this is our land, and that was basically their rebuttal to Q, who was saying this song says my land, and the guy was like, no, this is our land. And when I was speaking, one of the things I was touching on is that there really is no R. You have to define R. And in thinking of our land, this land has never been our land for black people. This land has never been our land for indigenous people. You know what I'm saying? And I looked out into the crowd, and a lot of people were understanding, but a lot of people, similarly weren't understanding. And when another young anarchist got up there, Neil, he basically reiterated what I was saying. And I noticed how the crowd took to that a lot more coming from the messenger, and I just kind of noted that even though that's fucked up, it's just kind of where the people are at right now, that people are willing to listen to that message. It's just, the messenger that people are hung up on. And and so towards the end of the rally portion of the event, we had the crowd move a little bit closer to the statue, and we had people lock arms and like make a promise to stand up against white supremacy. And we locked arms, and BYP 100 members led a chant that says, "I love you like you are me," and that was like a very powerful moment. And everyone in the crowd was super into the chant, and that's when we just decided to do it. And I climbed to the top of the statue and tied the rope around his neck and dropped it to the crowd. And it was up to the crowd; they could decide if they wanted to pull it down or not. And that was basically the action on Monday.
Everyone was applauding for you, but I know you couldn't hear that because you're on mute.
Oh.
Could you give us just... Hear that?
Yes, I can hear that.
Just real quick before we take any questions, could you just tell us a little bit about the current situation in Durham, which I know is developing very quickly?
About the what situation? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
The current situation, like what's going on right now with the arrests and the raids.
Okay, so what's going on right now in Durham is they're still arresting more people, and there were 9 warrants issued in total, I believe. Today there was a mass action where Workers' Will Party, BYP 100, Song, and a bunch of other allied organizations made a call for people to come show up at the courthouse to turn themselves in. For 2 reasons, basically to jam up the system, and also to say symbolically that if they are guilty of tearing down white supremacy, then I'm guilty too. The sheriff refused to arrest people who came to turn themselves in, but we definitely still had a strong showing of solidarity at the courthouse, although I wasn't there today. One problem is that we believe that now white nationalists have tuned in and are in the city now. There was reports of white nationalists in the area. And let's see. My main concern right now is that all of this, Durham is very supportive, and Durham is very strong, and Durham can be organized very quickly. But my concern is that the sheriff is playing a tactical game in hopes that people will get tired, because eventually people do get tired. And but I'm not in the city right now. We kind of came to the consensus that it was best for me to kind of just lay low and get out of Dodge for a little while and rest. But that's the current situation as far as I know. My final comment would be to thank everybody for coming to hear what I had to say, and thank you for your dedication to the struggle.
All right, thank you so much. Red salute.